not so much. But there's definitely something coming. Can you feel it? It's been watching us for a while. Talking to us, influencing our decisions, making art for us. Hell, I even heard Wendy's wants to hire it to take your late night burger runs. Guessing from this, you can probably guess what I'm talking about. AI. Now, I know this is not a new subject matter to talk about. In the last 6 months alone, we had this big boom of technology, from ChatGPT to Stable Diffusion, Dream AI, and about 100 other things. However, all these big leaps forward made me wonder, could AI animate? And I don't mean moving from A to B, I mean traditionally animate, with all 12 principles, animate in 3D and 2D. And my first thoughts of this topic were, yeah, probably, maybe. And that uncertainty bothered me. The more I looked into it, the more questions I had. So, as an average animator who's overweight, has bags under his eyes, and is addicted to caffeine, I decided to try to find out. With a basic knowledge of AI, I wanted to talk to people in the field of animation and get to know what people thought and what they believe could happen in the near future. Then, talk to some experts in AI and see if these concerns or theories had any validity to them. My name is Alex. Plant your assets in front of your screen, turn those ears on, and let's find out. Is this the boogeyman crawling up our beds, or just Sully trying to say hi? Is this a strange monolith towering before us, or a new tool to bring about human revolution? Is this a friend or a foe? Is it Judgment Day, or did we just fall asleep in front of the TV again? I don't know, but let's find out together in Animator versus the Machine.
Round 3.
Commencing. Begin.
All right. We have here Weldon Pops. So Weldon, how would you tell the Phantom listeners a little about yourself?
Ooh. I've been in animation all my life. So 40 years in the industry. Went to Sheridan for animation, got out in the world. I was in the world of animation when it was still paper and pencils, when we still shot on film, old school. And I lived through, I guess it was mid-'80s when computers came in, 90s when software started to come in. And I've worked at a couple of studios through my lifetime. Had a chance to do everything from deliver coffee to important people to, I guess, the pinnacle, I hate to say that, of my career. I was producing down south in Hollywood, making big time cartoons for the kids on TV.
Nice.
Now I teach part-time at college in Ottawa, Algonquin College, and I am the recruitment coordinator at Mercury Filmworks.
Nice. So a question I ask everyone is, what is your definition of AI?
Oh, that's a damn good question. Artificial intelligence. I just picture the Isaac Asimov sort of theory of robots taking over the world.
Right. You have the Terminator mindset of just like Skynet taking over, and it's just like, oh, that's it.
Yep, we're doomed.
That's a fair analysis.
Yeah.
But speaking of your path, you said you've worked with, you started with paper. You've been around when software was introduced. So you've been around.
Yes.
You've seen the highs and lows of many things in animation. You were around when 3D animation was came on the rise, and I've always heard stories of animators be like, "Oh, this is the end." And same thing with digital animation in like the late 2000s when they were like, "Oh, people were like, this is the end. We're not gonna be able to draw anymore." Yeah. Do you feel with AI, does the hysteria around AI feel the same as it was for those two things, or is it different?
Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah. All good. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm going to say short answer is yes, but I remember I don't. Well, actually, I don't know whatever year it was. Someone can fact check on me. I think it was 1991 or something, whatever it was.
Yeah.
When Toy Story came out,
Mhm.
I went to the theaters and I saw Toy Story, which by today's standards, if you look at it, is very rudimentary and
Yeah.
crude. I remember going to the theaters and walking out from seeing Toy Story and just going, "That's it, we're all fucked."
Reach for the sky.
Those buggers have done it.
Mhm.
And I think, then you had computer paint when you got rid of all of the, inkers and painters and checkers, and that all became done in a computer, and hundreds of jobs were lost, and budgets didn't budgets actually went down
Mm.
because you got rid of a whole bunch of people. And then when software came in, same thing again, and budgets have not, gone up because it's now 2023. They've actually gone down because, well, you don't need this person, you don't need that person, you don't need this person. So, so AI is just another iteration of that sort of uh, push forward. Can it do it today? No. Can it do it in 5 to 10 years from today? Probably.
Right. Well, that's been my thought is like when I've been talking to people, a lot of them are like, "Well, I can't." Like the example everyone goes to is it can't draw hands, right? That's the everyone's go-to answer. And
Well, it can't draw a hand today.
that's what I mean. It's just like, yeah, that's just because it understands contour, right? It's
Yeah.
like the reason why it has the nine fingers is because it's adding thumbs on each side and giving you a
Yeah.
whole row. And it's just like, oh, I'll get a 50-50 shot of getting it right. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
you're kind of right, I guess. In some
Yeah.
weird.
But then if it screws it up, you just press the button again.
Exactly. You're like, minus, 4 hands. You're like, or 4 fingers. And it's like, all
Yeah.
right, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I've played, with the home user sort of AI stuff and said, draw me a hamster with a Gatling gun and a sergeant's helmet on.
Mhm.
And it didn't always work, but, you adjust, you hit,
Right.
do it again. It gets better. It gets better. That's just rudimentary software that we have now for people at home to play with for fun.
Right.
So commercial software where they're just keep improving, it's going to happen eventually.
Right, and that's been the bias I think a lot of people I've talked to so far in the animation community have had, where they're comparing it to the available software like Stable Diffusion and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, that's available to everyone, but like behind closed doors, that software is way better. Like that's probably the stuff they were using 5 years ago. And they're like, oh, here you go, you the riffraff can have it now, and you're like, okay,
exactly, yeah.
So
the hoi polloi.
Exactly. So we've also seen AI. Like there was a show on Netflix that used AI for all their backgrounds. Do you see a benefit to this, or is it a slippery slope? Because like you can use it. You can use it to make model sheets, expression sheets. Where I've seen that too, where like one guy took a happy face, and just using Stable Diffusion was able to make like a whole series of expressions in a matter of 10 seconds on model.
Yeah.
So do you think it's worth it or a slippery slope?
Oh, it's not a slippery slope. It's a cliff. There's no slope at all.
Yeah. It's just a dead drop.
It is. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. You get into the humanity of art, which is what people will always argue.
Right.
And I honestly think there is real validity to that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can just keep pressing the button on the machine, and it costs you $0 to press that button.
Right. Versus someone spending hours working on this.
Exactly. I do know there was a series in Japan as well. It might be the same one where they had the AI paint the backgrounds.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And they said they had to click the button. No, adjust it a couple of times, and then at the very, very, very end, it was touched up by hand to give it life and personality, as opposed to perfectly cold, sterile,
right,
painting of a background. So humans are always going to be in there if it's nothing else but to press the button. but in a lot of cases, as it stands now, they still have humans at the end sort of touching it up.
Exactly. Like,
So it's cheaper for production, but it's evil.
it loses that soul of what makes art unique, right?
I think so.
Or like I've said before, where art is our way of self-expression and identity and stuff like that. So if a computer can do it, what do we have, right? It's like
Right.
it's tricky, right? Because it's like on one side, on the side of the pendulum, like it's evil, like you said, where it's just like, okay, we're losing so much, but at the same time, you could be gaining benefits. So it's this tightrope walk of like, where's the line?
Yeah. 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 Um, yeah. I mean, they've now got AI that can replicate a Taylor Swift song. Do you want another Taylor Swift song?
Yeah.
Like
I think I remember reading it made a Michael Jackson. I could be this wrong, but it was like a Michael Jackson and Bruno Mars collaboration, and it was so good that people thought it was real. And then Bruno Mars was like, "I didn't approve this. Who did this?" And it was just some fan that used the AI to make both, and it worked. And it's like, where's the line between? Yeah, that's a whole other issue, but
yeah. So that's hunt the computers down and smash them.
Just erase them all. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right up there. You're the front.
But it's too late. It's the case of Oppenheimer. I have become death.
Right.
This has been invented. We can't uninvent it.
Right.
So how do we control and use it? I guess is our best
defense
plan.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been thinking too. It's just like it all depends on the first one to get there and set the bar. Right.
Yeah.
So the first one to set the rules sets it for everyone. And that's the trick. Like, of current filming right now, there's the big movie, like biggest movie right now. It's the Spider-Man movie that just came out, like Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Oh, is it great? I haven't seen it. I've seen
when
clips.
First night, better than the first one. I thought.
Oh, beautiful! Because I've seen the art and it looks beautiful. But like that, a lot of that art comes, some of it, like the tweening for a lot of it comes with AI, where it was machine learned.
Yeah.
And it predicts just like a normal tween on Harmony, but it's just a smarter version of that tween. So it's like, okay, there's still human, there's still that marriage between human and machine. And it's like, oh, that's nice. But eventually that might shift. Sorry, what were you going to say, Pops?
But you said it. It's just like a tween that a piece of software, Harmony, would do. Mm-hmm. And Harmony's doing the same thing. I do keep pose, and I tell the software, there's 3 tweens between these poses. Yeah. You do them, and I want you to favor this side.
Yeah, or like, this is your breakdown. I'm going to do it. This is how I want the breakdown to be. I'm not going A to B. I'm going A, and then B.
Exactly. So is that not evil?
That's what I've been trying to talk to people. I'm like, I don't understand the difference between an AI enemy versus a tween. Essentially, it's splitting hairs now. In my opinion.
Is. It's all computer software helping us making decisions. As long as we make the decisions, as long as we say where the keys are, what the look is, what the lighting is, then you have some human input, as opposed to literally a janitor sitting in a closet going clink, 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 and pressing a button. There has to be an artist leading the machine.
Right. So I have a question then. If there has to be a human behind this machine,
right?
Would this, say in 5 years, they have software able to properly animate? Is this the new position for juniors, is to basically coach the AI how to properly animate? Or it's like, would a job change because of the software, or will there always be a need for an actual like progression, like junior, animator, senior, all the way up typically? In your opinion?
I hope there will be. I don't know if there will be, though, to tell you the honest truth. If the software and if the AI gets good enough and smart enough, and is intrinsically attractive to an audience.
Mm-hmm.
An audience doesn't care whether 100 human beings made this motion picture or it was a janitor and 100 computers.
Right.
They don't give a hoot,
Right. At the
They
end
want
of the
their
day,
entertainment.
exactly. At the end of the day, the viewers don't really care where it comes from, and
No,
perfection
they don't.
and good enough look very similar to the average eye,
Yes.
and that's the devil in the detail. I think a lot of people I've talked to in animation seem to forget, which is like, yeah, this isn't art. This is commercial art, where it's
Yes.
like it's there to make money and make money as quick as
Yep.
possible with as low a
Yep.
cost.
And if I can unemploy 100 people
Mhm.
and just get a wall of servers,
Yeah, but like in my heart of hearts, I hope there will always be, like you
what
said,
a horrible thing to say.
yeah, we all want to, but I'm like in my heart, I know there will always be those reluctant studios, like a Studio Ghibli, who are like, no, we're gonna stick to the old ways. We're not letting go because that's the last of humanity. But I'm like, that only lasts for so long, though. That's a
It
dying
does.
machine. Like it's a dying
It is.
sentiment, and they do beautiful work. Don't get me wrong. It's just,
Oh, no, of course.
yeah, it's just like it can only last so long with the right person at the helm.
Yeah. The classic Warner Brothers, an old Bugs Bunny,
Mhm.
I would give an appendage to be able to work on a classic show like that with hand-drawn animation. But that's not coming back. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
As much as I wish and hope. Yeah.
because like that Space Jam movie that came out a couple years ago, that was all rigged, wasn't it?
They were, yeah, I've
Or was it
worked with some of
hybrid?
the people. Yeah, it was hybrid. They were very loose rigs, and they were encouraged to hand draw on top of the rigs because the rigs were very
Oh,
simple. So they didn't get, like full parts and that. So it's like, here's the basic rig. It works. Use it, push it, and draw with it as you go.
hmm.
So you got some of, that feel.
Right.
Uh,
Sometimes it
so
doesn't always work when you don't get to like explore with a drawing. Like, how far can I really push this versus, oh, these are the limitations
yeah,
of my rig. And you're like, okay.
yeah.
And like, there's a difference between, you can tell from a hand drawn and like a digital puppet. Where like, oh, this is
Yeah.
the end. This is as far as I can
Now
go. Yeah, go ahead.
you can, and I can, but your average audience member
Exactly. At the end of the day, they don't.
can.
No, like my kids will look at it and they can't tell the difference. They're just like, whatever.
No.
I'm getting
Yeah.
my Paw Patrol. Yay! I don't
Yeah.
care.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's at the end of the day. That's what I'm kind of wary about when I that's why when I started this was just I think people need to look at it a little more critically at the thing over the horizon versus just like, oh, let's wait and see what happens. I'm like, I don't think that's the right approach. I don't want to be Chicken Little, but
No, I think it's time for Chicken Little. And I think talk about this is everywhere now with the
ChatGPT.
GPT
Yeah,
and things like that, the music software and whatnot. Everyone's sort of going, is this good? Is this bad? So the questions are being asked, but in my thought process, it's too late because the software is here now.
oh yeah,
The question should have been asked 10 years ago.
yeah, way long. Like I remember reading an article. It was one of the writers for Black Mirror was like, oh, I wrote an episode on ChatGPT, and it was like it was
Right.
total dog shit. I'm like, it is now. Like there's a process between like where it describes different AIs. There's like one that just it's a responsive one, so it reacts to what you do, kind of like that's what they use for Netflix algorithms, where like you pick a show and then it gives you things similar within fits in within tags.
Right.
There's another
Yeah.
one that's responsive, so the more you do something, the more it will do that. So like a self-driving car, it'll be like the more tests it does, the more. That's the one that's in like that's in Stable Diffusion, like all those art softwares. You type
Right.
it in, and it gets more and more refined. The third
Yeah.
one, which is the one that is the scarier one, in my opinion, is where it's able to mathematically perceive intuition and emotions. that humans would register. Which is your nightmare, Pops. So I presented that argument to a couple of animators. I was like, because they're like, oh, it can't feel, it doesn't have that intuition. I'm like, right now, but like, say if it mathematically was able to do it, like this is all theoretical.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
say it was able to, you were able to teach it the 12 principles, the holy 12 principles, right?
Yeah.
And you were like, I want you to favor, and it understood what like favoring meant, or you're like, do it in the style of Looney Tunes, Tex Avery or something like that. And it was just like, yep, okay, we can do that, because I'm sure a computer could go through a database faster than a human.
Yeah.
Where you have to be a specialist. And they were like, oh, I don't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
So that's where I sometimes feel like Chicken Little. I'm like, am I the only one that sees the problem here?
No. Well,
it's kind of scary.
I hope you're not the only one.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm in an echo chamber a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. It's doomed to happen. We've done it. Like, say, I started off with paper and pencil, through to computer paint, through to computer software, through to 3D, the invention of 3D, and it just keeps happening and happening and happening, and it's just going to keep marching on.
Right, that's the effect of innovation, right? It makes things easier for us, but it also, we lose things at the same time. We lose things with innovation, right? And the classic argument, like I always heard, is like, well, we have computers. Back then, we didn't have computers. We had typewriters. And it's like, sure. And a lot of people lost their jobs, but they also modified them, or they outright just changed careers.
True.
And it's like, that will probably happen again.
Yes, but I mean, I've played with the Chat GP thing, where I've asked it to explain to me things that I knew, and I knew empirically this is correct and that is correct, and it spat out 3 paragraphs, absolutely perfect, and it was absolutely right, and it was written fairly well, and it was sort of like, oh dear.
Oh yeah, like I've asked ChatGPT just for jokes, like what are the concerns with AI and animation, and it gave me like a 5-paragraph summary of like who I should talk to. And I was just like, this is insane. This thing is telling me like all the problems. And it sounds legit. But then you go through it and you're like, sometimes you're like, oh, it's repeating itself, which is like, okay. I've heard that's the complaint. But I'm like, yeah, but people do that too. Like, we just go by what we know. Yeah. Right? It just has a bigger quote unquote brain, which is just the internet.
Right.
And it combs through it at super light speed. So then my other question is, the one thing I've always heard is like, from talking to other people is, oh, we don't have to worry. This is mainly going to be, and AI is mainly going to be for a high budget or film purposes. It's not going to trickle down to like a 2D television base. Do you agree with that premise? Because right now, right? Okay, everyone I've talked to, like, oh, but I can't do this now, and I'm like, yeah, that's just now. And like, things can change like that. Like, look at 6 months ago, where AI was like, oh, it could do this, and then ChatGPT came out, and we're like, it can talk to us now. What the fuck?
Well, okay, I'm hesitant to quote dollar figures, but okay, say in the mid-90s, mid-90s, a half-hour show was budgeted about $750,000. You hit the 2000s when we had software and that, and we got rid of all of these people. A half hour was budgeted $500,000. Like $250,000 less. If AI can replace another 50% of the crew, budgets will go down to, $250,000 for half an hour. What producer, what broadcaster or streamer is going to say no to a show that's now how many percentage cheaper and delivered so much more quicker?
Right. Like
the answer, Netflix is going to go, we'll take 20 shows.
And to be honest, though, I don't blame them, because it's like, as a business point of view, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people I've talked to, they have to start looking at that, where it's just like, you have to look at the business side of things and the animation side. Those are 2 very different things. And the sooner you can merge those worlds together, the better you get you can see the whole picture versus just your one little slice. Yeah. And I've been trying to tell people that. I'm like, no, you got to look at the whole thing, because if you don't understand that, you're going to be lost.
Yeah. I want to create the Happy Little Elf story, and I'm selling it to Netflix. Yeah. I have a choice. I have a lovely crew here who uses Harmony, and that's going to cost $2 million. Or I have a room full of computers, and it's going to cost you $250,000. So, Mr. Netflix, what do you want to pay?
Yeah.
They don't care.
No, they're just like, oh, bottom dollar, this is going to be less. Great. We can approve more shows going this way. Got it.
Yeah. A quarter of the price. Done.
Yeah. I don't blame them. It's just...
I don't either. And does it hurt the art? Yeah, I think maybe it does. But this is commercial art. You said it. It's we are selling a product. We're selling an animated series or a film or a story.
Like I've had to remind some of my friends, where it's just like, they're like, oh, but this is art. I'm like, no, man, this is like animation. Like in the 80s, it was all just commercials for toys, like Transformers, He-Man, all that. Like, you're selling something through a show. Even like shows I grew up on, which was like Reboot and stuff like that. Like, it's just the same thing. It's just you're selling toys and merchandise. Like, you see this cool red car, you can buy it at Toys R Us for $24.99 or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah.
So I wish I could rail against you and say, no, you're wrong.
Sure.
But unfortunately, no, I think you're pretty much spot on. And, there's trouble. Changing times.
Right.
Ahead.
Yeah, so I'm the same belief where I don't think it's troubles, maybe. I'm hoping it's just changes versus like a total decimation, where it's just like, oh, everything gets replaced and there's only like key couple outposts that produce animation, and everyone else just find a different career, close down the schools and all that. It's like, no, I don't want that either. I just want people to be aware of it. Where like from the stories I heard, where it was like when digital animation came in the late 2000s, people started integrating like in schools and be like, okay, we have to teach kids how to use Harmony, because yes, it's great to learn how to draw by hand and do the old ways, and that's great. But if they want jobs, this is the way they're gonna have to do it. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, this is such a devil's advocate thing, and I hate to open it up.
Go for it.
And I hate to say this out loud. No one's going to watch this, right?
That I know
of. So I work at one of my part-time jobs is teaching animation,
right?
And students. And as the years have progressed, they now no longer teach paper and pencil drawing.
Oh, okay.
Everything is digital, straight into a computer. And they are starting off with Harmony in the first year of a 3-year course.
That's what I heard, yeah.
When they come out and I see them as a recruiter, they do not have the drawing skills of someone from your era or before. Drawing skills are vanishing.
Yes. And I agree with that statement too, where like people are forgetting to like draw through and like look at the pose and the forms and like how does things twist and turn. They're forgetting like body mechanics. They're just like, oh, it should do this. And you're like, no, like understand what's going on in front of you. Yeah. And it's the great irony, because like I was telling someone, I was telling someone about my years in school, where it was like it was weird the first year, because the first year is pretty much your whole brain being reprogrammed to think almost like a computer, where you're analyzing everything. You're analyzing physics, you're analyzing motion, kinetics, everything. And so you see by the end of the first year, you should be able to see everything with a new lens, where nothing should look exactly the same. And it never does. Like to me, everything I'm still looking at, I watch things like fly in the air. I'm like, oh, there's the arc. And this is how this moves. Like I watch a squirrel, and I still see two just balls just going boop 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 boop.
That's great.
Yeah, but
that makes you an animator,
right? But I like some of younger generation I've talked to, like off the podcast, where it's just like they're very much just like, well, they're really good at the software, and sometimes like way better than I am. I'm like, oh, I didn't know how to do this. That's great, good for you. But
Yeah.
like some of this, like I've seen some of the art or like the animation, it either looks exactly the same, or it's like there's no real uniqueness or liveliness to it. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
it's not a fault to their own. It's just the way, I don't know. It's a tricky.
They're just moving things and they're moving parts,
Yeah.
and I see that in studios too, where they actually get into production, and you get handed 10 scenes in a week or whatnot, and they just have to get through it, so they just move the parts.
Yeah.
And that gets through, and it's like,
yeah, I've been in productions where it's just like, all right, we got to get this through, just make it look okay, good enough. At the end of the day, it's look good enough. Yeah. And sometimes you're like, oh, this hurts, and eventually, the more you get onto it, unfortunately, you get a little like jaded, and you're like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna focus on this one scene, so I have a sparkle in my soul, and the rest I'll just throw away.
Yes.
Like at the end of the day, I was just like, all right, I'm gonna make this one scene look awesome, and the rest I'll just like, all right, it'll be good enough. And you're like, it'll get past. Maybe there'll be one revision, and I'll be it.
Yep.
So yeah.
Now that thought could be just crammed into a computer, and the computer could just make it be good enough.
Right, and so that my thing, like there's almost like a quality bar where it's just like mid-level, low budget, good enough.
Let's turn it all the way up. Yeah,
yeah, crank it to 11, like film quality.
But here's the problem, and here's the issue. I see this happening with real life students.
Okay.
They're watching animation or animated films from here, and they're replicating them here. And as we go forward and there's less drawing skills and less animating skills, they are copying or aspiring to do the work of a middle of the road show, not classic Disney or old Tex Avery or Bob Clampett.
Yeah. Not understanding your history and how to get there.
No, they're watering down their own talent pool. So when the computers and the AI come and look at the catalog, what is the computer going to replicate?
Right, and that's what I'm hesitant on, and also very curious about. Where I'm like, if you were to give it, this whole catalog from everything, Tex Avery, like I said, Looney Tunes, even if you gave it like Buster Keaton, and we're like, all right, the greats, and you're like, I want Buster Keaton in a Studio Ghibli style, and you're like, and it could do it, probably. Like it's not that far fetched.
No, but who knows that and this, and to put that question as the input, you only get out what you put in. It's the old computer, garbage in, garbage out.
Right. So
not even knowing who Looney Tunes are because you grew up on, I don't know, whatever is on.
No, I grew up on Looney Tunes.
TV now.
Yeah, it was reruns of Bugs Bunny and Tweety Show on Global TV in Toronto. That was my jam. Every day at 5 o'clock. Yeah, as a kid, I was like, "This is the best show ever. How has no one ever thought of this?" And then, like years later, I was like, "Oh, this is reruns."
But I mean, kids today are watching anime and growing up with anime, so they want to replicate anime. Put a couple more drawings in there, please. But
I don't have as much as like a faux pas of the anime. It just depends. It just at the end of the day, for me, you just have to understand it. Like anime is all about pencil content, where it's like you're saving all your money for that one glory shot that one season your animator spent like a month doing it. Just that one scene. And like if you don't understand that, you're like, oh, this is all of it. I'm like, no, if you watch it, they're holding frame just like Speed Racer, and, and maybe there's like a shift in weight.
We have 10,000 drawings to spend, and we're going to save 7,000 for when the giant robot fights the bad guy.
Yeah, and I want these crazy camera movements and all this stuff. And you're like, it looks great, and that's all everyone remembers because that's your glory shot.
Exactly.
And they're like, did you see this cool anime? And you're like, yeah, it's really cool, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like that's not all animation is.
So what you put into this AI and what you put into this animation robot is going to, you've got to have someone who's got some, hopefully, brains or soul or knows what they're talking about, is an art director.
Yeah. So that's my running theory is like you need a strong guardian for animation to be at the helm,
Yes.
being like not just like
Yes.
not a someone who's like this is the business side. Like you need someone to be like, no, I understand what I'm doing, I understand what I'm using, and I need to use it properly because it's a very slippery slope, and that's my fear. It's just like, all right, if we can replicate everything, why do anything? And it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
You'll end up with George of the Jungle or something.
Yeah. The only like have you watched the
Don't get me wrong, I love George of the Jungle.
Oh, George have you heard what's the new show? Oh, it's Eternal Unicorns.
Oh, yes. Well, that's Glenn
That's
Tartakovsky.
yeah, and it's great. And like he's one of the few guys just like putting his stick in the sand, like I'm keeping the old ways, and it's like Urgh.
Yes.
And I love that his new show is this high fantasy thing, but it's almost an homage to the like Popeye, the Sailor Man, where it's like everything's just got this like nice chibi, like they're all like these cherry like cubey angel faces, like the big cheeks. But it's all this high action. And you're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is great. But everything he does is, and you compare like Primal, where you're like, Jesus Christ, this is beautiful. Everything is a painting.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then I remember watching that, being like, could an AI do Primal? And I'm like, I want to say no, but a part of me is like, maybe.
Don't see why not.
Right? If it understands the principles of like, the 12 principles, it's like, it doesn't, and it's not that hard for a computer to understand it.
And it's easy for a computer to remember it.
Right. And that's what I've been telling people
a real life person's going to get lazy, cut corners and whatnot, but the computer's going to go, need to hit this, need to hit this, need to hit this, need to hit this.
Well, that's what I've been telling people is like, we learn, as humans, we learn progressively, right? Because there's just steady stream. But computers learn by steps. So it's like 50 failures, 1 success, and it's on to the next level and keeps going up. Up.
Yeah.
It never loses that. Like a human's always like a roller coaster. It's like, oh, we dip and dive, we cheat, we look for the shortcuts, and then we lose a little bit of skill, we get lazy, then we find it again, and it's just like, I think that's the trick. Now you're literally fighting against the machine eventually.
Yes.
And I think it's sooner than people think.
Skynet.
Yeah, Skynet for animators. I'm like, oh god,
it is.
Yeah. All right, so last question is, what would you like to know about AI with regards to animation? If you had to hear from someone.
I don't think I have a...
You have no stance? Oh, okay. Okay.
I would like to ask if I could punch them in the face, just... can I get one shot in before you turn the button on?
Yeah. Before you hit the button, yeah.
Because there's going to be no stopping the machine.
Right.
There's, it's a matter of how do we work alongside with this new software, and where do we fit in, and how do we make it work properly and not churn out junk.
Yeah, it's kind of it reminds me a lot of the Iron Man movies, where once everyone realizes the arc reactor is a thing in his little chest, everyone wants it, everyone gets it, and everyone wants to use it, and you're like, oh, there's no stopping. Now there's like knockoffs and duplicates, and everyone wants it, and you're like, oh, okay, now it's out of the bottle.
Yeah, no, it's too late. It is out of the bottle, and it's going to run through every single studio, and every single studio in the world is watching whenever anybody else uses it and goes, okay, okay, they did that, okay, we could probably do that too. The bomb has been created. It's too late.
Like the example I've been using is, if you've seen those effects guys, Collider, I don't remember. They did an anime of rock, paper, scissors.
Shoot!
in a style
Oh,
using
okay.
AI. Using AI.
Ooh.
So it's about 15
And?
minutes long. It's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. That's what sparked my interest. So what they did was they filmed it all live action and then took the AI like Stable Diffusion and trained it. So they were like, okay, we want it in the style of Berserk from the anime. So it took a couple. I think instead it was like for every 50 pictures they took, it would take 50 attempts, and they would choose the best ones.
Right.
And
And
then
that's like I say, it's
yeah,
just
it's
keep
training.
pressing the button
Just
until you
keep
get
pressing.
what you want.
And
Yeah.
eventually, it was as long as they kept the irony is they had to use pencil economy without realizing it. So they had to keep all their costumes super clean. Couldn't be any details because then the computer would get confused. So like anything with like badges and all that, they had to like tape it up. So they were in like these regal Prince outfits. So like a red one and a white one, I believe. And they had like tape up badges or anything like frillies or any frills on the side. It would just tape it down. So the computer would just analyze it as like one solid outfit with maybe like some buttons. So eventually, they were able to film their live action scenes, convert it into a picture, and then instead of the AI running at 24 frames, and so the drawings would constantly change, they'd have to run it per frame and be like exactly like the previous one. And so when you play it all together, the style doesn't change, or like nothing shifts. The only thing it couldn't do right now, and they got the hands down perfectly because they did 50 drawings of hands from that style, and it was like, okay, we understand how to do hands now. But the only it couldn't do was eyes and pupil direction. It couldn't do, which I was like, oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So you would watch it, and then the eyes would like just jitter all the time, or like go off sync and come back. And so I was like, that's a very, and people are like, wow, we don't have to worry. I'm like, no, that's a very minute problem.
That is.
Where it's just like,
well, actually, I can tell you a grandpa story from back in the days of Raccoons, the series Raccoons on CBC.
yeah,
It was done here in Ottawa. And Bert Raccoon was one of the lead raccoons. We had some 3D people who were, this would have been 85, 86, 87, in around there. They came in and they were 3D animators, and they wanted to know if they could run tests using one of the raccoon characters, Bert Raccoon, who had the bent nose.
yeah.
And if they could get a model sheet and try to animate just like a head rotation or something simple with Bert Raccoon. The studio and the owners who owned the IP said, yeah, sure. We gave them all the drawings. They came back in a couple of weeks, and we said, so how did it work? And they said, well, we modeled the character fine, but when we did the head turn, it just looked uncomfortable. Well, they were computer people. So what they did is they just took the character and just did that. Mm-hmm. And there was no slow ins, there was no life to the animation. But the other problem they had is he had these two big cheeks. And when he started off to the side, all the camera saw was his big cheek, and then it moved. And they said, it looks ugly. So I said, well, the animators cheat because from head on it looks good, but they dip the head, and when they dip the head, they draw the cheek for going off in the distance, so it makes an appealing drawing. And then when it comes back up, they cheat the cheeks back out to where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And the computer people said, well, how are we supposed to stick that into a piece of software? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, that's what traditional 2D animation on a piece of paper is got the trick and the art of. And they were frustrated. Well, I mean, now with Maya, you can deform things and whatnot. But
even then, they still have like cheats and models in 3D off software.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but back then at the very beginning of 3D animation, that was a stumbling point. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, you'll work it out. And of course they did.
Of course, yeah. You have like, I remember hearing problems with, I think it was Woody's rig in Toy Story, where the hat would constantly clip through the head. And they were like, what do we do? And they're like, well, the scenes we can do, we'll crop the film, or we'll just do like a head crop, or like we'll just take off his hat for whatever reason, and we'll find a runaround. And there's always then like that's normal for animation. Like something doesn't work, you need to make it work. And
exactly.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, animators are gonna just have to make it work with AI. Unfortunately,
Yes,
I think that's the solution. It's just like, and then you have to think about it faster than you think.
It's going to save money for them, and it's going to save time, and time is also money. So they're getting win-win.
Yeah, it's the one thing animators never have enough of is time.
Exactly.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like that's the golden that's the philosopher's stone of animators. It's the golden question. Is like how do you get more time? And it's like, well, we have this might be it, or it might be a destruction. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're doing this for. Figure it out.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Well, that's it. I want to thank our guests for contributing on our journey so far, and I want to thank you, the phantom listeners, for hearing us ramble around the water cooler. Come check in next time as we talk more about the subject of AI in the animation industry. Let's find out together. Don't forget, keep your eyes on the horizon.
Goodbye. Aborting transmission.